the intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where today we're going to talk about some solo Eclipse Armada strats, kind of a refresher for some of you, but for also, just talking long-term strategy and how to get better, especially some of the new crews. We'll even show some of the DS9 crew in this one just a little bit, but also today's Monday. This week we've got a brand new arc launching I'm very excited about. Hopefully Scopa doesn't screw it up with things like lag and all the other wonderful things. Hit a like if you think this arc is going to, gosh, I would say hit a like if you think it's going to be perfect and not lag, but then I'd not get any likes of the video. So like the video anyway. And real quick before we get into talking about Eclipse Armadas and I'll show you some battle logs, I do want to point out this right here. For iOS players, it's very important for you to pay attention to this, specifically our EU players and our APAC players. Now US, as of now, I'm not aware of any changes, but prices will be going up starting this week for all of your packs if you're in the EU and many APAC regions like Vietnam, Japan, etc. So the reason being is, according to the good old overlords over at Apple, is the value added tax and corporate income tax boosting it up. We're talking about probably a total of 5 to 10%. So this is going to affect anybody that's on the iOS. Now I want to point out, this is not Scopely raising your prices. This is, again, Apple. This is your Apple tax essentially, and even more reason for you to pick up a Google device and use like that Amazon App Store that I've been promoting, because this is kind of silly. I would hate this for y'all, but I do think it's very, very important for y'all to be aware it's happening so y'all aren't shocked when it does happen. And here are examples of the prices. I pulled up the EU territories right here, so you can see the tier pricing list over here. Should be the tier that many of you are probably familiar with like tier 58, I believe, which is gonna be 110, or maybe tier 59 at 115 in terms of the price difference. Main point being that according to Apple, prices are going to be going up, and that's Apple making decision to cover taxes. They already make a crap ton off these packs. But for those that don't know, Apple and Google, I think they both take 30% from any purchase. So like they're already making a killing. Now that taxes are going up, they're gonna pass those taxes on to you. Yay! Love you, Apple. Woohoo! Anyway, thought y'all should be aware. Now let's go over to the meat of this video, where we're going to talk about battle logs and talk about running Eclipse. And I am going to show some logs of mostly my lower tier. I'm going to use a tier 5 of my Stella, but this is something that many of you maybe already know, but strategies to look for in the future. So this is a tier 5 Stella. Now keep in mind that my M score is really bad, y'all. My M score is M score 61. It's pretty terrible. That's very, very low. If you are actually in the chat right now, if you're watching this video and you've got an M score higher, I want you to comment. Every person has a comment, or every person has an M score higher, I want to comment down below. This is your opportunity to shame Rev. Make fun of me. I'm the worst content creator you've ever seen. How do I have level 43 ops, heading to 44, and only M score 61? Shame me. I don't care. I deserve it. Make me feel terrible. Maybe today I'm a masochist. But anyway, for real though, we're going to talk about this. Gives you a good general range though. It's like if you're a high 20s, low 30s player, you may use these strategies, and some of the strategies you can actually carry on to higher levels, including far above where I'm at. Because once you get to like, M score 85 and M score 100, you can start doing a lot of solo armadas on rare and epics and be able to hit up pretty high. Talking about hitting like the 40s by yourself. Now, for those of you who do not know, the M score simply denotes how many researches you've done that apply directly to the Stella in terms of its weapons and everything. So like, for example, Stella weaponry, if I upgraded this, would then give me an M score of 62. So that's just the basics of how that works. So let's get into logs real quick. I have several here going against 33s and 35. So one that I have is a generic that everybody's used to, Kirk Spock Khan, going against a 35 and soloing it and winning. So the key to this was I created damage and my shields never went down. Shields continued to stay up, meaning I took less damage, and then with Khan created more, and this battle ends up lasting a 65 rounds. So end up getting a solo win here. Now that by itself is not necessarily too impressive. This just kind of speaks to how low my Stella is. I do want to point out when it comes to the firing patterns of everything with these uncommons is, remember that the uncommons are basically going to fire once, every round per weapon. And as you move up into the rares and the epics, they're going to fire multiple times. So you're going to need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to avoid those shots or survive through those shots. And this is where an officer like Leslie becomes very important. So I want to show you another log there. So this is just me using Kirk, Spock, Khan. That's something that every player in the game can run because you get Kirk, Spock very early and you get Khan very early in the game. But let's go take a look at, let me see if I can find it. That's not the one, though. We will talk about this in just a second. I am looking for this one. Yeah, so this one is actually just me finishing it off, but there's one that was kind of half dead. But believe it or not, this ship actually basically blows up. The key is if you've obtained Leslie, and you can actually start sourcing Leslie now, which is really nice. So new players may be unaware of this strategy where old players had to pay for this. But Leslie, look at the captain's ability, 5% with no synergy, restored to whole health when it's under 35% at the end of each round. So what that means is it's going to artificially rebuild your hull during battle. So what can happen is some of these fights can go 100 rounds. Well, with Leslie, your ship in this battle will never die. Now, it is important to note that after the battle ends, everything that got added artificially gets removed. So what I mean by that is, let's just say, I need something to describe. Okay, we got 2 red solo cups. So let's just say this is your normal whole health. Like this is what your whole health is, 1 solo cup. Well, Leslie, during a battle, could add another solo cup. So obviously now you're twice as hard to defeat in the battle. But after the battle, this goes away, so you're back to 1 solo cup. So if you took 1.5 solo cups worth of damage during the battle, then you would die after the battle ends, even after you were victorious. Now you can still see how that's advantageous to you as a player, where you can win the Armada, you can solo the Armada, and even though your ship blows up, you're gonna get all the credits, you're gonna get everything just by yourself. So like here, I got 8,200 credits plus the loot box. So solo Eclipse has always been the most efficient way to do Eclipse. Now, I hate promoting solo because I really think that team play should be something that we all focus on. But solo armadas are the best way to really go about it and gives you the best way to get all those currencies that you need to go through your updates and your upgrades. So even though it's not as good for your team and you're blowing directives on just yourself, this is going to guarantee that you get the most amount of directives. So running that Leslie, Kirk, Spock better facilitates you doing that, especially as your M score goes up. So okay, let's say you're at M score 80 or 100. You can run Leslie, Kirk, Spock, and because you've got all those damage upgrades with your research and your mitigation upgrades and your piercing upgrades, you'll find that the Stella naturally is able to take these on as long as it can survive with the hull health. So now what you have in a Stella with Leslie as captain is the ability to solo very high armadas. And there are players far above Rev who will be going to these deep systems, taking on a lot of these by themselves. Now, what they won't be doing, I'm gonna see if there's any of them here. What many of them won't be doing is taking on this solo at like level 39. Just want to point that out real quick, but you can go into like this system right here and find players who can easily solo if, yeah, there's one available, there's a 37. They can solo these pretty handily by themselves, or even go into Lidstrom, which is another system that we frequent. You get to the higher levels and can solo the 168s. You know, it's very possible to do that. Or if there's a rare available, there is not. I recorded this during Apex, obviously. So that is a strategy that you can use. Now, I do want to point out before we end this video, I will have an entire video about this, but let's talk about the board crew. I'm sorry, the D Space 9 crew. D Space 9 crew is something that's coming a little bit more popular. One thing to note is that it can quote unquote break mitigation. Kira is working as designed, but you see shield deflection dodge by 13% of every attack, but then also the critical hit chance. But it's I'll make a video explain the math if you've ever wondered. I mean, because she doesn't necessarily work in a way that breaks the game, because Khan can do the same thing. Like Khan can create negative mitigation in certain situations. With Kira, you would have to stat stack a ridiculous amount to get there, but it is technically possible to cause a problem with Kira in an Eclipse. But as a solo, you can see I can run a solo here. I do want to point out that from just a solo perspective, I'm much more in the advantage to just run Leslie, Kirk, Spock if I wanted to, or Kirk, Spock, Khan. But for those mid-tier players, here's are 3 crews that you can run. And for all players, there's that 1 crew that you can run now with Leslie, Kirk, Spock, to just guarantee that you're going to have those victories long-term if you're soloing. And I still hate even talking about it now because I really feel bad promoting solo armadas. And can we please update this chest for the love of the good baby Jesus? Please update the premium chest. And this thing is just stinking loaded. But as you get more of those options that come around, and then you've got like, that's the old Federation recruit, but you've got like the new Elite Federation recruit that has Leslie in it, which I do want to point out, and I'll have a video about this. This is still absolutely terrible, but it is now sourcing of Leslie is a terrible value, but I have to include it because it's now available. We are working on making this value better. I've already had a meeting, and I've told some of you this. We've had a meeting with the devs about the value of this, and hopefully it improves, thus giving a better source of Leslie. And I would love for him to get added into the premium chest, which is in desperate need of an update. But anyway, hopefully this video helps you out, and hopefully the Apple Note is important for y'all. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next video, which will be a lot, because it is art drop week, and I'm excited as long as they don't screw it up. Please don't screw it up, Scopely. The content and the features are really good. Please don't screw it up. GDD.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.